Good night, everyone. So, as you know, even in our great, let's say, desperation, or not desperation is not the right word, but in a low place. Also is objectively, a low place. So even under those very difficult circumstances, and of course, the forced, shutting down of the site only one day after it was launched. All this is not, these are all bad news, but we are still committed to science, as you know. So even in that, in that doing such hardship, we still, study, the Torah day and night, or study science day and night. And I would dedicate this video to answer two scientific questions. I will deal with issues that again are not new, but there's a lot of new audience. Some people say that they weren't like they didn't have the info before, or didn't understand it. So let's we will reiterate a little bit of things that we have already said, but with a new from a new perspective, which that will wrap up main issues. By the way, they are doing the noise because they thought that since I cut my hair and my beard, it means that I've restarted, which is some kind of like a mythology that they have. That after some time I restart, and then they can tell me that just orders, and I will just follow their orders after the I'm almost 40 years old, and it never happened, and they tried it all day, every day, round the clock. But every time that I do something that according to their mythology is related to restart, like for example cutting my hair, then it means that I've restarted. So now they shout command at me, in order to and they wait for me to obey. And yes, it's not funny, and that's the way they are. So if like I after I do those allegedly restarted things, and then I do something like start to speak in English, which is according to their mythology something that is impossible for a restarted robot, then they are very angry. So that's why you heard those noises. Noises are their main weapon, as you know, the weapon of the Israelis. So okay, so without further ado, two scientific questions or issues. First, several people ask me, why do I use, those they call it balls, because indeed sometimes I use it as a ball, because as a container. It seems that there are always many of those around me. So as probably many remember, this one actually, this is the object that the name Niro is named after. I was in Arad, I remember, a city in the south, and about a year ago, and I've done some shopping. It was Friday in the supermarket, and I've seen a box with 72 of these with the caption 72 Neronim. Neronim is Neron is the name of the Caesar. Neronim means Niros, 72 Niros, and it is also Neron is also a small candle in Hebrew, because it's a very popular small candle for Shabbos and other purposes. And so I immediately thought that the starship that I wanted a name for them. I would call them Neronim. I don't remember. It was kind of it was a kind of a prophecy, and also right after that so that I also decided that I want to name the nanobots, to give them the same name, and I've used this double naming since then. Actually triple naming, because it says in a third meaning, but never mind that. But it was always part of my art and also my blogging. They use Neros both for the nanobots and for the starships. For a long while I mainly referred to starship, but once I started to seriously conduct research on the Neronims a couple of months ago, and it was all documented very well on the YouTube stage, I actually discovered that miraculously they share a lot of similarities to actual Neros, because they actually look like that, and when they burn, they glow yellow light out of them, which it's also, you can see that with the Neros, that they have the yellow pools. If you remember, it's very, some very, strikingly odd. I mean, this similarity. And there are many other even like similarities. Like I mean, with the fine details on I don't know if you could actually see it. I mean, on both sides of the neuron. I mean, there's, even those. I mean, they have some similarities to symbolic things that relate to the neurons, like the nanobots. And also, it's just very useful as a small like container, because containers are needed many times for the symbolic objects, because a lot of the symbolic language revolves around differences. Like I mean, you want to create difference between one thing and another. So I mean, you need like a different background, different color, or just the container inside the container, and there are a lot of variation. I don't want to get into it too much now. And also there is even another point of like similarity, or referential similarity, is that it's colored. And I should say that it's filled. When you buy it with candle beeswax, which you already know. Is useful. Interacts very well with the nanobots. And also, it's like it's colored silver. It's silver color, and I don't know if you remember, but again, the backgrounds or the colors of the boxes of the objects that that are part of the symbolic language, or it can be also in 2D in paintings. It has meaning. So, like for example, the best example is the brown color, which we've spoken about a lot. It's the most common one. It's used when you want to actually create something in front of you from material that you place on as a raw material. And there's a question like how do they make the distinction between raw materials and model objects? Because it's a Torah Shlema, as they say. I spoke about it a lot, and I have many things to say about it that I didn't say already. But I just decided not to pile too much into it, because currently it's not that important. So brown means create something from the things that are in front of you. Which this is like it's the most basic way, because that's the way people actually use it. Like they on the ground, they have material and they construct something from this material. You see here, this is a very good example. I've already showed you the example. Never mind what I really want, what I want to actually build right now. It was changed. There were many iterations, but as you can see, what's new actually is something that I didn't do until now. Is that I connected the iPad and previously the iPhone, and I've made a very a noise, like a vibrating noise of a refrigerator for a long time, while it's touching the everything that is on the brown framework or base. And this is the new course. I don't think that I've ever dealt with it before. Not in the paintings, and not the sculptures, and not the symbolic constructions. But the idea was, the idea is to generate an earthquake noise in Hebrew and also other languages. I don't know if in English actually, but in Hebrew and other languages, the Rash Adama, land noise is is synonymous with the word earthquake. And in general, sometimes people use the name rat noise for earthquake. So noise and vibration on the brown background means from the curse point of view, an earthquake, which is something I think I haven't dealt with it until now. And I've never, not in the paintings, not in the sculptures. There were some references to the plates actually. It's interesting because I think that one of the differences between Venus and Earth is with regards to the tectonic plates, but it's a whole new. It's not important now. But yes, of course. The meaning is I mean, there should be an earthquake in a huge one, because I mean, people, I mean, around the world do not hear the cry of the foreigners. They don't care about, I mean, all the horrible stuff that, I mean, that is inflicted on them by the Israelis. So only, like, I mean, like Mother Nature, or like Mother Earth, I mean, will create a big noise, so people, maybe they will wake up. And this is just a timer. That it's not a phone, it's just a timer. So so back to the Nero. So it's also so I don't know if you remember, but the silver background or silver boxes I talk about, that they represent the grooves, like my species. So if I do things inside as a silver, like plain silver, like monotonous silver box, for example, it refers to things that should happen inside my own body, and perhaps body of other groups, but I don't know if they, I mean, where, I mean, I don't have information. I mean, there are also ways to distinguish between groups of people within the species. I've spoken about a lot in the past. I mean, it's a whole new. This Torah Shlema, it's a whole new Torah. Like, I mean, how to symbolic language deal not with specific people, but with specific kinds of people within the same species. That was a huge issue in the past. It was actually one of the first issues. I mean, that belongs to the, like, the meta issue of the symbolic language. There was the distinction between types of people. But from the species point of view, this is the curves, and red frameworks represent Homo sapienses. And actually, by now, I don't know what represents Titans. I suspect it might be purple, or it might be also another, like, shade of red, or a combination of red and silver. I never did really thought about it too much, because I mean, I didn't even find even like hypothetical situation when I wanted to, like, create a curse or a blessing on the Titans themselves. I mean, it was all. I mean, by now, I mean, even just when I thought about it, it was always something that, I mean, relates to Homo sapienses, or to myself, or to both of us, like, in a way. But I don't. I mean, and also Titans. I mean, with regard to changing the body, I mean, they have their own ways to do it, and I actually don't know how to do it. Like, I don't have this, like, their way to do it. And I don't know how it's done. For certain, it relates to the Niros, but I like, in practice, I don't know how they do it in practice, and I don't know actually what is, like, the theoretical foundation behind it. Perhaps the way that they do it converge somehow with my symbolic language that I discover, like, with, I mean, as part of my journey, or maybe it's like a completely different approach, even philosophically. I don't know. For certain, it relates to the existence of Niros in their body. So yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, not sure. I mean, how the Titans, I mean, are referred. Perhaps also silver, but I don't know. So for that reason, the neuron, the little candle, is so. I mean, you can see. So I mean, it's so frequent in my practical sculptures or construction of that are built using this the visual, like, symbolic language. So another question. So previously, I mean, earlier today, I posted like a short video with, I mean, a huge, I mean, in like, I mean, relatively speaking, a worm in a glass, and some people say that, I mean, they don't think that it's a worm at all, or at least not a living one, and I mean, and like, it's like a hoax or something. So I decided, I mean, to get back into the issue of, like, I mean, it was a major issue, like, in the previous months, but I kind of left it out, and so I understand it's like, for newcomers, this is all sounds like newcomers to the channel that are only now starting to be aware of my existence and the existence of the symbolic languages of the Niros. It might sound like very, I mean, like, kind of like incredible and out of this, I mean, even far-fetched, like a claim that the Niros can actually create life ex nihilo. So I think that, okay, I need to return to the subject. I will just, in one sentence say that, yes, they can create the worms that are living creatures, which is amazing, and it was demonstrated many times, actually. And they are not alive, probably biologically speaking, and they have remarkable characteristics. For example, they swim very comfortably in a mixture of like alcohol 70% and hydrogen peroxide and iodine solution. Stuff that, and also oil, like rough oil paint. Stuff that, all of these are known to be like anti-life, like not only toxic, but they are used specifically to kill like all sort of life forms. So they are completely different, like, but they look like worms and they swim and very nicely, and like they do the stuff. And so, for the skeptics, I will return to this night and perhaps also tomorrow to this issue of like creating life form using the Niros. And so, I will also show you how it actually moves like autonomously. So there will not be people who will not say that it's actually rocks. But I will not just redo things that I've already done many times, but I will just add like several new perspectives. First of all, I will use several new techniques that I've learned that will perhaps make the process faster. As you remember, we've reached a point that from 2 weeks or so, I was able to create the first living worm in 2 hours. 2 hours is not that a lot. By the way, there is a question of how do I define like living ones. So I will remind you that when they are created, it's mostly like when the mixture, like the soup, is in an ongoing electrolysis. So and if you, it's not always like, but that's the by far the quickest way. So that I've discovered, and if I disconnect the electricity from the electrolysis, then the worms that were not fully formed are dissolved. They get back to like, they slowly dissolve into the mixture until they like, you just see like gray goo, like that dissolves in the water, like it's not water, like in the mixture. But some stay alive after that. So this is like because it's difficult to say when they are alive because they are not alive biologically speaking, and they can also hibernate, as we've seen several times. They can hibernate. So so if they don't move, it doesn't say that they are dead, because they can. When the condition change, they continue to move and like do the things. So this is my like for them. This is my working like definition of alive. When you can disconnect the electrolysis and they will not dissolve. They will just be what they are. It still doesn't actually give us the opposite definition of death, because there is no simple way to deduce the definition of death from this definition of life, because what does it mean that they die? Okay, so once they are alive, and what then? Like, so okay, these are very important philosophical and practical questions. So I will use several new like practices and somewhat superior knowledge of the visual of the symbolic language. Related to what I had like for example 2 months ago. In order, I will try now to create a small amount of or perhaps ideally only one, but small amount of very large, of relatively speaking very large ones. I will purposely want to use my new like knowledge and of the practice to create large ones. So you will not only be able to see it without microscope, but also maybe we will be able to see details which will be on the body of the worm, which will be very exciting. And also another thing that I will add, another cool feature is that I will use at least I will probably create do several experiments one after another or in parallel. But at least for some of the part of the experiment, I will use like the glass inside a red box, which is something that I haven't done yet. And this, of course, signifies that I want worms to be created inside bodies of Homo sapienses. I will not deal too much with what kind of Homo sapienses. I think that by default, it makes sense that they will be created much quicker on bodies that contains a large amount of large Niros, because as I've said earlier, all the human body by nature, like from birth, contain Niros, but I mean very small and very little. But of course, I mean the ones that contain large ones, probably due to the fact that they ate titans or me or whatever, they ate, like they cannibalize on other creatures, sentient creatures. I mean they create larger ones, so it makes sense that those will generate the worms much quicker. It will. It might sound gruesome, but it can. I mean, I've thought about it many times before, and I've even referenced the idea. It doesn't like. I mean, it doesn't like sits very well with the Jewish halacha, like the Jewish law. I mean, it's very important. Like the issue of burial, like very very important, and this will. I mean, for certain. I mean, it will greatly reduce the demand for graves, as I mean pyres will be regain a lot, like very high popularity, at least I mean in the West, inside the intelligence like agencies in the West, where I mean we can find the population of Homo sapiens with large Niros in their body. So funeral pyres will be, I mean, a la mode again, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I think it's arguably it's well, it's a question of if it's more like environmentally viable. Then I mean, it's actually because I was burial can be done in several ways. I mean, the traditional Jewish way is not to use the super heavy and expensive like caskets that are, I mean, so favored by Christians, and I mean, so if you use those kind of like caskets, I mean, it makes everything much less viable, like from an environmental point of view. So yes, but funeral pyres like burning. I mean, instead of burying is will probably serve like good purpose, at least in the context of, I mean, the intelligence agencies of the West. So I mean that's the plan, and I mean of course I will update you whenever there is something interesting to see.